was just another Tuesday. I was sitting in the back seat of a rideshare car, heading to yet another meeting that promised everything, but deep down would only deliver stress. On the way, the driver started a conversation. We talked about politics, inflation, and inevitably, money. At one point he said, "Being rich in this country? Only if you're a politician or born with a silver spoon. The rest is just an illusion." I just listened. But inside, I recognized that phrase. I'd thought that before. I'd said that before. And worse, I'd believed it. At that moment, something uncomfortable clicked. What was holding me back wasn't lack of effort, talent, or opportunity. It was the beliefs I carried without even noticing. Most people aren't poor because they lack potential. It's because they believe in limiting stories, inherited truths, and phrases repeated for generations, without ever questioning them. Today, I want to show you 5 silent beliefs that might be sabotaging your wealth. They don't shout, they're not lit up in neon, but they're there, behind the scenes of your daily life, dictating your choices, your fears, and most of all, your limits. And maybe you haven't even noticed them yet. Belief number 1, money is dirty. And if someone has a lot, they must have done something shady. When I was a kid, I remember hearing adults whispering whenever someone in the neighborhood got rich. It wasn't admiration. It was suspicion. Comments like, "No one gets rich that honestly," or "They must be into something shady," came out naturally, as if there was only one possible explanation for someone's financial success: cheating. For a long time, that became my truth. Even as an adult, every time I made some extra money, closed a great deal, or saw my bank balance grow, something inside me felt heavy. A subtle discomfort, like I was doing something wrong just by prospering. It was in a therapy session that this finally came to light. My therapist asked, "If you really believe money corrupts, why would you let it into your life?" Silence. A silence that explained a lot. This is one of the trickiest beliefs. The idea that money is dirty, that rich people are automatically corrupt, and that to prosper, you have to lose your morals. This idea sneaks into your mind subtly. It shows up when you feel ashamed to charge for your work, when you avoid talking about money in public, when you turn down opportunities because they don't suit you, but deep down, it's just fear of being judged for wanting more. And what happens? You start sabotaging your own progress. You turn down good chances, dismiss possibilities. And worse, you start taking pride in your own limitations, saying things like, "I'd rather have peace than money," as if the two were enemies. A woman who truly wants to build wealth needs to understand, money doesn't change who you are, it just amplifies it. If you're selfish, it'll magnify that. If you're generous, you'll be able to help even more people. If you're ethical, you'll have an even greater impact, responsibly. Money isn't moral, it's a resource. And you decide how it shows up in your life. One time, I read a phrase that completely shifted my perspective. Money in the right hands changes the world. Since then, every time that old guilt tries to creep back in, I remind myself, there's nothing wrong with prospering. What's wrong is living below your potential out of fear of what others might think. This belief that money is dirty isn't just limiting, it's dishonest. Because deep down, everyone wants more freedom, more comfort, more peace of mind. Pretending you don't just to seem pure is hiding from yourself. Want to know if this belief lives inside you? Watch your reaction when you see someone successful. Do you admire or criticize? Do you feel inspired or suspicious? That internal compass says a lot. A wealthy woman isn't afraid to deal with money. She studies it, talks about it, manages it, invests it. Because she understands, money doesn't define you. The awareness with which you use it does. Belief number 2, if I charge what it's worth, no one will pay. I remember exactly the first time someone asked me for a quote on a more complex job. I spent hours putting together a detailed proposal, assessing the scope, calculating the time. When I finished, I looked at the final number and froze. I deleted it, reduced it, slashed it in half. I sent the email with that old thought gnawing at me. If I charge what it's really worth, they'll back out. A few days later, the response came. "Thanks, but we're going with another professional. Your price is below market and doesn't inspire confidence." That hit me like a punch. I thought I was being affordable. In reality, I was undervaluing myself and pushing opportunities away. This belief is sneaky. You think you're being smart by lowering prices, that you're helping or securing the client, but what you're actually doing is sending a clear message to the market. I don't believe in my own value. And if you don't believe, who will? Women who want to build wealth need to understand that pricing is a language. It communicates positioning, self-confidence, clarity of value. And when you undercharge, you're not being humble. You're being inconsistent with the effort, knowledge, and results you deliver. The fear of seeming full of yourself, or too ambitious, is a leftover from a culture that, for centuries, taught women to be likable instead of fair, to not rock the boat, to always take what they can get. But settling for less than you deserve isn't humility. It's giving up on respect. I remember that after that email, I decided to do the opposite. In a new proposal, I put the amount that truly reflected my work. The client signed without haggling, and even praised my clarity. That's when I realized those who see value pay for value. The ones who want a bargain aren't your audience, they're just a distraction. This belief affects everyone from entrepreneurs to those in corporate careers. It shows up when you hesitate to ask for a raise, when you take on extra tasks without recognition, when you're embarrassed to talk about money in an interview. And each one of these concessions piles up frustration. The wealthy woman, or the one who's on her way, knows it's not selfish to take a stand. It's smart. She knows her own worth, studies the market, prepares herself, and charges with dignity. She doesn't get into emotional bidding wars because she knows her price isn't set by someone else's insecurity, but by the confidence she built within herself. If you're afraid to charge what you're worth, try flipping the script. Ask yourself how much time, energy, study, and experience you've invested in what you offer. Now think, what is that truly worth? The answer might surprise you, and more importantly, it might set you free. Belief number 3, hard work alone is enough to get rich. For a long time, I took pride in saying I worked harder than anyone else. I arrived before the boss, left after the janitor, scarfed down lunch in 15 minutes, and always had that busy and indispensable look. I thought effort equaled deserving, that the more exhausted I was, the closer I was to success. Spoiler, I was only getting closer to burnout. The turning point came during a chat with a colleague at a casual event over coffee. She walked in calm, smiling, and said she'd just landed a deal worth more than my annual salary. In a month. My reaction was instant. Wow, what did you do to land all that? And she replied, with the calm of someone who's figured it out. I stopped trading hours for money. I started thinking like an owner, not a worker. That line echoed in my head for days. That's when I realized hard work doesn't make you rich. It just keeps you busy. What builds wealth is thinking strategically. It's understanding that effort is important, but it's not enough. That wealth comes from the right decisions, not chronic fatigue. This belief that working your butt off will eventually pay off is dangerous. It was useful back when manual labor was the only path. But today, what moves you forward isn't working more, it's working smarter. And here's the harsh truth. A lot of people are exhausted and stuck in place because they work themselves to the bone but never study finance, never learn to negotiate, never invest, never build a network, never position themselves strategically. They just run and tire and run more and get even more tired. The wealthy woman understands that the math doesn't add up when everything depends solely on her own effort. She builds systems, automates what she can, learns to delegate, focuses on what brings the most results, and isn't afraid to pause and reflect because she knows rest is also part of the process. When I stopped taking pride in my hustle and started taking pride in my clarity, everything changed. I started saying no more, picking my projects more wisely, valuing my time as an asset, not as a sacrifice. This belief that only those who sweat win often comes from guilt. Guilt for having comfort. Guilt for not suffering. As if pain were the only legitimate path to victory. It's not. The wealthy woman chooses smart paths. She rests without guilt, grows without self-sabotage, and prospers without needing to constantly prove herself. The world already has too many people running in circles. Maybe what's missing isn't more effort, it's more strategy. Belief number 4, I'm not good with money. This one's a classic. Almost everyone has said or thought this at some point, and in my case, that phrase became my go-to excuse for everything. Maxed out credit card? Oh, I've just never been good with finances. Impulse shopping? Yeah, self-control has never really been my thing. Messy bills, zero investments, growing debt. It all fit perfectly into the story I had created for myself. I'm bad with money. The problem is, when you repeat that enough, your brain believes it, and then you act like someone doomed to financial failure. You stop seeking knowledge, you outsource decisions, you avoid looking at your bank account because it's not your thing. The truth is simple and uncomfortable. No one is born good with money. We learn, or we don't. It was during a casual chat with a friend that everything shifted. She said, "Did you know your relationship with money is like any other relationship? If you ignore it, it falls apart. If you care for it, it responds." That comparison hit me hard. After all, I didn't expect to be good at driving without learning, or be good at cooking without trying a single recipe. Why should money be any different? The wealthy woman isn't afraid of finances. Even if she started from scratch, she understands that not knowing isn't a flaw. It's a starting point. She takes responsibility. She studies the basics. She learns how to manage, plan, and invest. And more importantly, she handles her money with care. Because she knows poorly managed money doesn't respect effort, it vanishes. This belief that I'm not good with money is comfortable because it takes the weight of responsibility off your shoulders. But it also takes away your chance to change. If you want to break free from it, start small. Download a simple budgeting app. Read an introductory book on investing. Watch reliable videos. Talk to people who know more than you do. You don't need to become an expert, but you do need to stop hiding behind the "I wasn't born for this," because that phrase isn't an identity. It's an escape. And wealth doesn't go with escape. It goes with presence, awareness, and ownership. The wealthy woman doesn't outsource what's essential. She might have a team, an accountant, a financial advisor, but she understands what's going on. Because money you don't understand is money that controls you, not the other way around. Belief number 5, now isn't the right time. This is by far one of the most elegant and deceptive beliefs out there. It doesn't shout. It doesn't confront. It gently whispers, just wait a little longer. And thinking you're being rational, you decide to delay. You delay the course. You delay asking for that raise. You delay the investment. You delay the project that could change everything. And just like that, a week becomes a month. A month becomes a year. And when you realize it, you've postponed half your life waiting for the right moment. That never came. I lived through this in a painful way. There was an idea I'd been sitting on for a long time. A small online consulting service for women looking to change careers. I had the knowledge, the niche, the contacts. But there was always something missing. Money, time, courage. Until one day I saw someone in my own circle launch something very similar. And it worked. I wasn't lacking ability. I was lacking action. I waited so long for the ideal moment that someone else, with fewer resources and more boldness, did it first. And in that moment, I understood what I now tell you with total clarity: the right time never shows up. It's built. The wealthy woman doesn't act when everything is perfect, because she knows that doesn't exist. She acts when she's prepared enough to start, even if she's still missing a lot. This belief that now's not the time seems prudent, but it's pure sabotage. It dresses up as responsibility, but it's just well-dressed fear. How many times have you said, when things settle down, I'll start. As soon as I have more money, I'll invest. When I feel more confident, I'll step up. And that when never comes, because life doesn't hand out guarantees. It hands out windows, and windows close. The wealthy woman gets this. She sees opportunity where others see uncertainty. She moves with strategy, yes, but also with courage. She knows confidence doesn't come before action. It's born from action. You know when the best time is to start changing your financial life? It's not after your next paycheck. Not when all your debts are paid off. It's now. Even without certainty. Even with fear. Because every solid foundation starts in the middle of chaos. Waiting for total stability to take action is like waiting to learn how to swim without getting in the water. It's not comfortable, but it's necessary. If you think about it, everything that truly transformed your life began in imperfect moments. And still, it was worth it. The wealthy woman doesn't sit around waiting. She creates her own moments. These 5 beliefs don't make the news. They're not headlines. No alarms go off, but they operate silently, every day, sabotaging decisions, delaying plans, and shrinking the size of your dreams. Maybe you've never said these phrases out loud, but you've felt the weight, the stagnation, the sense that you're capable of more, but something invisible keeps holding you back. Now you know the names of those chains, and knowing is the first step to breaking them. The truth is, building wealth doesn't start with a spreadsheet or a brilliant idea. It starts with the courage to question everything you've been taught to see as normal. It starts with a choice to stop repeating, to start reprogramming, to swap "this is just who I am" for "I can change." You don't have to break every belief all at once. Pick one. Challenge it through your behaviors, your habits, your decisions this week. And watch what shifts. Because sometimes, what's blocking your prosperity isn't the world. It's the story you're still telling about it, and about yourself. If this video gave you clarity, drop a comment and share which of these beliefs you saw in yourself. That could be your first step toward freeing not just your mind, but your bank account too. And of course, if you want more content like this, you know where to find me. Change begins where excuses end, and yours starts now.